Then get out!
Just like cheating, whether or not it's okay to overshoot somebody is very dependent on the situation. What's up, guys? WillBallForSoup here, and we're going to explore one of paintball's most controversial topics. Today, we're going to go into some of the situations where I think overshooting is actually okay, but we're also going to talk about some situations where overshooting is just not necessary. Now, a good starting point for this video is for me to explain to you guys what overshooting is in case you don't know. It only takes one paintball to eliminate a player, but if you add more, so if you shoot those extra bonus balls, that's overshooting. Additionally, a step beyond that, if you know a player is dead and you intentionally walk them out, as in continue to shoot them as they exit the field of play, that's also overshooting. So giving somebody more hits with the paintballs than necessary. With that being said, guys, I want to get into some of these situations and explain if overshooting is okay or if it's just not needed. When we talk about tournament paintball, this is the team practice, the speedball, the NXL, the WC. Anytime you play a team event level paintball point, you are going to get shot more than once. So don't be soft. Don't have this notion that when you step onto the tournament field, you're just going to take one ball and everything beyond one ball is overshooting. That's BS. Around 10 a player is kind of where I start to feel that it should be an overshooting penalty. I've talked to some refs who say they throw it at 8, others say they throw it at 10 to 15. It's important for players to recognize that when they're exiting the paintball field during a tournament or team practice, there are players who are just shooting zones. They're constantly pumping sections of the field with paint, and they're not going to stop just because you're walking out. So don't be soft again, and recognize that if you take a couple extra walking out, it might not 100% of the time be intentional, but sometimes it is. This really shouldn't be a hot take to you guys, but just like cheating, I think it's bullshit to overshoot people in either a rec ball or a scenario game. Leave the overshooting for team practices and tournaments. If you're out there for a day of fun paintball, don't bring that overshooting bullshit in there. I know, so you may think you got overshot. Okay, well, there are people running the park. Talk to somebody who works there. They're trying to ensure that nobody gets overshot because, big spoiler, people getting overshot don't come back to play rec ball. So talk to the refs, talk to the management. They will do something to fix the situation. Don't give that vigilante overshooting justice back at them. So this is the last time I actually got overshot. I was coming around the 50 and I was trying to bunker somebody out in the Doritos. So I was wrapping around the opposite side of the 50. I got about 2/3 the way done with the run. It was a pretty big wide open run and he just caught me and he shot the shit out of me. I probably took at least 12 balls in that play. And you know what? I don't blame him because his job was to prevent me from stabbing him out. He needed to shoot me until I stopped my run. So if you're a back player and you see somebody stabbing one of your front players or attempting to make that move and they're not stopping, so you put that first ball on them and they're not stopping, that's when you kind of ramp it up into that 8 to 10 ball range. If somebody is not getting out and they're about to try and stab out one of your players to maybe convince the ref it was a trade, that's when you lay it on them, and it's totally justified. You'll most often see players and teams overshoot each other when they don't like each other. It's just one of those grimy parts of paintball. So I want to get into this little life story. So I know we have a controversial topic and a life story. It's like video inception here with Soup. The last time I overshot someone at a tournament had to do with me separating from that team in a pretty messy way. It was not a good breakup. And this is the first time I faced my old team at a paintball tournament. In the back of my mind, I knew that our breakup was so messy that if I shoot any of them out, they're gonna fucking wear it. But if I get shot, like if I play this point in a round robin tournament and I get shot, I am going to be walked off the field. So I knew it was gonna be a bloodbath, but this was one of those matches where I was just like shaking in my skin. I was so excited to play it because those guys had so much talent. Like, I'm not gonna name names, this is old beef. So it's the end of the preliminary bracket and we did pretty well. We're going to Sunday. But my old team, they're probably not gonna go to Sunday unless they beat us in this last point of the day. So the grudge match was on and I was just ready to go. So at this point in time, I was playing this 2 on the snake side. So primarily I was gonna support my snake player, communicate to him what he needs to shoot at. And when we get up on bodies, I close the game from the 50. I'm really too big to do snake fills, but I play that snake too, and then I wrap around and I go to the 50. Despite them having much more talent than we did, we were probably up what looked to be about a 4-on-2. And I see their snake corner. It looks like he's walking out. So I shoot him about 8 extra times. He wasn't really involved in like why I left that team, but he was on the team, so I didn't give a shit. So I shot him 8 times. And this guy, he gets so mad. Instead of walking out, right? He kind of walks towards me because I'm at the 50. He just walks towards me and starts screaming at me. So the refs actually gave this dude a flag. He was pissed off about getting overshot. And I'm not gonna lie, like we had some beef. I overshot him. And the ref throws the flag on the dude, not me for overshooting, because 1, he's talking after he's dead, and 2, he's cussing. And so they pull the last player on my old team out, and I didn't even know where he was. So he was actually in their snake. I don't know when he filled it. He was in their snake. But this guy was their best player. He was actually offered a spot on Aftermath, maybe a month or 2 after this tournament went down. So their best player was pulled out on a flag that they got for complaining that I overshot someone. If that's not absolutely the best paintball revenge, I don't know what is, dude. To put a positive spin on things, your team really doesn't want to be the one to introduce overshooting. I know that's kind of contradictory to that last story of my tournament, but if things are going well at a practice, you really don't want to jeopardize your relationship with the other teams that you're playing against. If you develop that reputation as the asshole overshooting team, other teams aren't going to want to scrimmage you, and you're not going to get better. Unlike cheating, overshooting is pretty easy to identify in tournaments. Especially when you're using that bright paint, a ref can clearly see if you tee off on someone. And if your matches are close, and maybe you don't even have the bodies to win the point, and you roast somebody, the ref is gonna know and you're gonna get that major. Especially if you decide to headhunt. A headhunting penalty is thrown when a player intentionally targets another player's head or moves from their body to targeting their head. This is dangerous, and I really do believe intentional headhunting should be a penalty and it should be discouraged, and that type of overshooting is just a step too far. You really don't want to give somebody a concussion just because you don't like the way they play paintball or you guys got personal beef. Whether or not you should overshoot somebody hinges on how they react to the initial shot breaking on them. If you see a player's out and they keep playing on, by all means, that's a green light. Don't feel guilty about it. They're an active player in the game. Don't stop shooting.
That's not a penalty! Yeah, what for? You just fucking torched him! No way! Get out! Get out! What is this? Get out! Are you kidding?
I found this clip from Green Machine Media on YouTube. This is during a tournament, so the player with the barrel cam that we're watching gets the drop on the other team's Dorito. During his run through, he shoots the guy 15 times on his run. Now, we have to look at the reactions of the Dorito player to see if this was justified or not. So if you pay attention, at about the 4th ball, the player in the Dorito who's being shot kind of puts up his hand. He's not really trying to spin. He's not trying to react to the aggressor in any way. This guy is clearly signaling he's out. But the player who we're watching through the barrel cam keeps putting it on him. If you really count, there's about 15 balls that this guy put on the Dorito player. And when the player on the other team is defenseless, there's really no reason to do that, especially in a tournament. So if you read the description of this video from Green Machine, it's saying that he got a 5-minute major. And I agree with that. That's malicious overshooting over 10 balls on one play, especially when the other player is signaling, hey, I'm out, dude. Like, I'm not gonna spin on you. I'm gonna get off this field, I'm out. And you keep putting it on him to the point of 15 balls. Yeah, that's too far. I agree with the refs on this one. But what do you guys think? There are some channels out there and they're about hype. There are other channels out there, they're about the footage. But WillBallForSoup is about paintball dialogue. I want to thank you guys for sticking around all the way to the end of this video. It's been really rough for me since this situation. I know, we're not even allowed to say it. Huge shout out to Jeff R. of Copper State Crisis. He's one of my featured channels. He was the one who provided me with this footage that I'm using for this video today.